Cold at the touch, dead in the eyes, no signs of life no more. I put your love under the knife. Leave me to die here all alone. No signs of life no more, no. A crying dove may never fly. Black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh, 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 oh. Just black and white. Black and white, just let me go. It's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. White, white, white. Just let me go. It's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. White, white, white. Black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh, 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 oh. Just black and white. Black and white.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Simracersworld TV for round 6 it is of the SRW NASCAR Cup Series from Watkins Glen. Technical difficulties aside, I had a little bit of issues with the video there. My name is Hasse Rømer. I'm joined by Edward May in the comms booth tonight. It's going to be an absolute pleasure here for the first road course. I was about to say for the first oval course. It most certainly isn't. The first road course, though, we're going to do in the series altogether. It's going to be wildly different from, well, basically anything we've seen before in terms of NASCAR here on SRW TV, Edward.
Yeah, is this the first road course race ever across all seasons as well? Am I right in thinking that, Hasse?
I think so, indeed. They've done non-championship races, but
all on ovals. Well, we're going to be changing that today, aren't we, Hasse? We're going to be seeing plenty of cars out on the Watkins Glen circuit, all batting for positions on a road course. So the first time drivers will actually have to turn right for a change, and they'll be going right through turn 1. That'll be a great sight to see so many NASCARs go together. And Hasse, I did remember, I think I was here for the first race of the SRW NASCAR series. I believe it was at Daytona, if I remember rightly. And now I'm here for the first road course race as well. Oh, it's been a lot of firsts for me in the NASCAR. Shame I haven't been able to commentate as much on it as I would have liked to, but you can be sure that racing is going to be great because I've tuned into the broadcast, Hasse, and it's been immense.
It's been good. It's been very good indeed. And I think we've got a championship standing that also suggests that the action has been very good indeed. We've got Matty Sufi leading with 206 points to his name ahead of Hendrik de Grave and Kip Behate, the two Flemish drivers, both up there in the standings, still in with a shout. Ian Roots in 4th, ahead of John Barnes and Matt Tyler, John Tusting, Austin Greatorix, and right and Seb Herbera. And I know you think someone is missing from there. And Perry. He's all the way down in 14th now after having missed a number of rounds. I think he is indeed, however, back for today. So that's going to be interesting to see just how he fares along. Yep, final bit of the driver standings. And indeed, the team standings were Flemish, with 2 drivers in the top 3 are doing very well for themselves. Almost 30 points clear of Quantum. Also joined closely in by Simracersworld, both the Bravo and the Alpha teams. So, of course, both drivers and team standings at this point, Edward, very much open for action still here.
Yeah, there's a lot of action, I think, that is going to be left wide open for this season. Like you mentioned, the 2 Flemish Simsword drivers up towards the front could start a battle, might start to score with one another. Of course, you always want to beat your teammate no matter what you're in, be it GT3s that we saw yesterday, Hasse. If you haven't watched that, be sure to tune in for some exciting GT3s that were at Monza. And, well, we're going to see some extra road course races, but in cars that are quite difficult. I was doing some races in various other NASCAR series events on road courses, and you could definitely tell the cars aren't really built for going around corners the way they needed to here.
I would imagine so. I've never tried it, neither in the old cars or these newer machines, and I would believe the next-gen machines here to maybe be that little bit easier to drive around a track like what we're going to see today. Of course, it is the cup layout of Watkins Glen, as you can see on the track map indeed. So it's not the boot, as most road racers will be familiar with, from the 6 hours at the Glen and other various great road venues indeed. But the shorter version here, expect lap times around 70 seconds or so, as we're getting the final bits and bobs of qualifying done with as well. It will not be long before we'll have the results of said qualifying to throw up on screen for you. And we'll be hopping over to that as soon as we can. It's a little bit of a different rhythm to the whole intro here. Qualifying 2-3 laps here at Watkins Glen is quite different from 2-3 laps at an oval. And from what we're going to see, Edward, I think the racing's going to be so much different. But for us Europeans, strangely enough, it's going to be, I guess, more of a familiar feeling indeed. What you're seeing on top there, by the way, should indeed be the ending grid order. And with that said here, Edward, we do have the results from qualifying ready to be shown up and thrown on screen there with John Barnes, the two Quantum cars, John Barnes and Austin Greatorex, grabbing the two front row spots ahead of Tim Perry and Hendrik de Grave, Matty Sufi and Adam Wright. Kim Behade for Flemish 7th ahead of Seb Herbera. And John Tosting, Robert Robb, it says. That's not right. My mistake, and I'll get that fixed as soon as possible. But it is, of course, Robert Lundgren, now the privateer, the Swede, indeed ahead of Paul Gosling, Michael Tyler, Bram van Eyften, Damien van Immerseel, Stuart Musselwhite, and Max Spooner, which rounds off our 16-car grid for tonight here. And 16 cars might not sound like a lot, but it's a short track indeed. I think we'll see plenty of action indeed. Let us finally go to live pictures, trackside, if you will, Edward, and see these screaming beasts actually going around the circuit. Are you familiar with racing here at the Glen?
Oh, I've done a lot of races here at Watkins Glen, but not in anything like this. It's going to be really great to see all the cars. They're just getting the warm-up out of the way, get acclimatized to the track conditions that they will have to contend with in the race. And then, like you say, 16 screaming beasts into turn one on the first lap. It's going to be immense. It's going to be one you'll want to tune in for. Race distance 70 laps with a maximum time limit allowed of 2 hours 25 minutes. We're probably not going to go to that length, so it will be 70 laps of this Watkins Glen circuit. And of course, the same rules still apply. If there are big wrecks, there will be caution flags waved. So, time for the field to get closed up onto and maybe have a few maybe surprising moments in the season. Maybe some drivers in as well in the race getting caught out by cautions, which we have seen all races all season long.
Yeah, indeed. A little bit of a different lap count as well. We'll be doing 70 laps of racing here, which will indeed amount to 170 miles. I, for one, have also got some good experience. I've only done one race here at Watkins Glen. That was the 6 hours of the Glen this year, where my teammate and I finished second in the LMP2s. After having spun in turn 1, having hit the soft barrier, not collecting any damage, and starting from the middle of the GTE field, basically, and fighting our way back, and actually just ending up about 9 seconds off of the leader after 6 hours. That was an intense race, and I think, Edward, it's rare. It's very rare that you'll find me dusting off my shoulders in my own racing prowess, but that was the race of my sim racing career so far. So I have very good memories from the Glen here. A lot of drivers seem to find it tricky indeed, and I do understand. For me, it shares quite a number of similarities with Road Atlanta. Actually, it doesn't necessarily look the same, but there are a lot of the corners and the dynamics of the track that sort of point in the same direction, if you will. At least in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you've got a. It's a very demanding circuit when you think about it, especially next year, the 6 hours of the Glen. You do spend a lot of the time. It takes a lot out of you going through all the corners that require a hell of a lot of commitment. The first corner as well, through the chicane, you're committed, going right, then going left, then going right back out again, then all the way through here. Pick your time to get on the throttle. Especially considering we've got this straightaway as you're going on the club circuit, not the full Grand Prix layout. You've got a quick little jink to the left, carry the momentum, carry the speed, all the way down for the final corner. Getting a good run out of here is key, as I'm sure you're well aware, Hasse, because of this start finish straight and the overtaking opportunities into turn 1.
And overtaking opportunities there'll be plenty of. I was about to call you Sticks, or maybe Mr. Roboto will do. I think you had a bit of connection issues there, mate, and we do apologize for that. It's an annoying view you get there in the S's with the fence there. Maybe we can get some. Anyway, it's I think a track that most of all will be familiar with. These S's are such a hard place to overtake. It's so tempting to try and get a run up through there, but then again, as well, difficult to say the least to go too wide. A good opportunity for overtakes into the chicane. and come in this long right-hander where the drivers will not be going on to the boot, but they'll be taking the shortcut, which gives us a long straightaway coming into the final sector of the track. And as I said, lap times all the way down around 70 seconds, a minute and 10 seconds, if you will. I'll do the calculations for you. The if you're even worse at math than I am in that sense. And that said, well, we don't really have a lot to go by here as well. It's relatively new territory, and as such, not a lot of anecdotes to throw out there, not a lot of stories to tell and such, but certainly it's going to be great nonetheless.
Oh, that's what I was going to say about stories. Who do you think is on for a good result here? Who maybe hasn't got the best of luck, but think that a trip to a road course could turn their season around? Are there any drivers out here that you think could get something good from here?
It's hard to say, but judging from practice, the Quantum cars are looking very, very good indeed. But now Hendrik de Graves also found himself with the good pace here at the final bits and bobs of warm-ups. We're about 3 minutes away from the race start, and what time better than now to have a bit of a word of about our round sponsor this week. Of course, SimStickers will also sponsor the F3 series that we have running here on Simracersworld TV. Go check out the link to their webpage in the description. And of course, SimStickers, the finest stickers for your sim gears available online. Anyway, with that said, with our thanks duly given to our wonderful sponsors, just to return to your question there from before, Edward, it's a hard one, I think, trying to really call out who's going to be great and who's going to maybe fall through here tonight. I would expect it to be the sort of the usual suspects, but then again, everybody here is well experienced on the road racing side of things. Maybe not in the next gen NASCAR, but I still don't have an answer. You know, we saw Paul, and that's another thing. Last week we saw Paul Gosling come from far back at Bristol. He was really, really good as well, driving himself to a podium place. He might be able to do that as well today. I'm thinking drivers like Matty Sufi, Robert Lundgren perhaps as well, and the returning Tim Perry, who hasn't set a lap in qualifying in the 83 car. This epic 4.99 t-shirt. Don't expect Tim to be the instigator of incidents here at the Glen. And how much, Edward, I'm asking you, how much would you laugh if I got a t-shirt printed that said C1.52? Not that it's my safety rating. My safety rating is A 4.8 something. You know, it's up there as well. But just saying, it would be fun to have that kind of t-shirt as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe you'll be able to get a few knowing looks from people, sim racers in the real world that might see you, give you a little nod, knowing that you're up there and that you're a nice, responsible driver on iRacing. Maybe you're not in real life. You're a weapon. You're like one of those Audi drivers on the motorway, hanging off the rear bumper and just being a menace to society. But on iRacing, you're a true gentleman.
Yes, indeed. For me, actually, I don't even have a driver's license. I am the terror of the Copenhagen bike lanes. All jokes aside, I am planning to take my driver's license relatively soon. Here, we're watching Stuart Musselwhite from Portsmouth go around in the 18 car. And something we'll see here, I'm quite sure as well, is that the differences between the cars is going to be quite a lot bigger. Of course, worth mentioning that this is a fixed setup series, so everyone in the same boat, quite literally and figuratively speaking as well. And just who will be sailing it the best here tonight, it's yet to be seen. But Quantum indeed in pole position, and Stuart Musselwhite takes a little bit too much of the turn 1 exit curbing, finds himself drifting sideways, coming to a halt here.
There is a little bump there, Hasse, actually. I think he just tagged it a touch, getting onto the power, which is what sent him round as well. But he did good, didn't he? Locked up the brakes, kept the trajectory of the car stable, touched the wall at a very minor amount of speed and gotten away without really much damage, because those tyre walls, they are very soft. They don't do a whole lot to the performance of your car if you hit them, especially at that low speed. Stuart Musselwhite, he's got good practice now. He knows what he can and can't do through turn 1, and that'll set him up well for the remainder of the race. Cars are lining up on the grid, Hasse, for the first road race of the Simracersworld NASCAR Cup Series.
Indeed, they are. And with that said, we shall delve into the grid once again for one final time to see John Barnes and Austin Greatorex on the front row. Tim Perry, Hendrik de Graeve on row 2 ahead of Matty Sufi and Adam Wright on row 3, with Kippy Haight and Sepp Herber on the 4th row of cars. Jim Hastings joined by Robbie Lundgren on the 5th row, with Paul Gosling and Michael Tyler on row 6. Row 7 is going to be Bram van Uyften and Damien van Immerseel, and then Stuart Musselwhite and Max Spooner joining one another on the 8th row of cars there. And I don't see Tim Perry. I'm just surprised that did I manage to miss him, or did I say his name and am I just that off tonight? Well, good question. We've got a bit of a warm-up lap here. We've got an entire warm-up lap, of course, in a true NASCAR tradition. Are they racing to pick up a... Oh, there it is.
There's the pace car.
There is the pace car, indeed. The Porsche safety car, as it's actually called. So for once, it is indeed the safety car, even though we should probably be calling it the pace car. Lord knows how many times I've called the pace car the safety car, and the other way around.
Yeah, so the cars, they might be trying to do their best. They've got a full pace lap here to see about getting some heat in the tyres, but maybe as well they don't want to scrub them too much. They want to keep the life in them, make sure they don't wear through them too hard. The tyres do get worn fairly quickly in these NASCARs, don't they, Hasse? So that could be something to consider for this, well, this first road race, is how the drivers manage to deal with it on the strategy battle. I think it is going to be a race 1 through pit road, maybe, rather than on the circuit, or maybe who can execute their strategy to the best of their ability. But coming through the long right-hander, a little while for drivers as well, when they are on this pace lap, to just figure out, run through their mind what they're going to do on the start, especially for the driver on pole position, John Barnes. When does he go? Does he give any signal to Austin Greatorex's teammate, or does he just go whenever he feels like it, every driver for themselves?
Muted there for a second, my bad. But there will be comms, I think, between the teammates, Edward, and certainly they'll be trying to aid one another to get the best possible launch off the grid here, rolling through the final corner. And let us see just what kind of race we're gonna have as the pace car peels off, and we're green already. We're running 170 miles at the Glen is underway, and into turn 1 they go. It's Barnes, Greatorex, Tim Perry, Hendrik de Graeve, and Adam Wright in the top 5 there, with Matty Sufi challenging though up into the S's. Slotting in behind with Kimbe Haight, Sepp Herber, John Tusting, and Robbie Lundgren rounding off the top 10 so far. Had a clean race start here, which is exactly what we wanted to see. Tim Perry, though, getting challenged here early days from Hendrik de Graeve here, going defensive into the chicane first time around. And I haven't tried a single lap in these cars, but I would imagine that chicane, that braking zone, is probably quite tricky to get right here. I think we'll see some drivers, a fair few bit of issues there tonight. A good start as well for Adam Wright. Something very different is upon us here, Edward. Sorry.
Yeah, so I was going to say, though, on that point you mentioned about through the chicane, it's going to be especially difficult on these opening few laps when the tyres are cold, when the brakes are cold as well. The brakes and tyres, I believe, are modelled at the same time, so if you get your tyres too hot, the brakes get too hot. Tyres too cool, brakes too cool, struggling to stop and also get it through the corners. Seeing a little bit of a squabble though, aren't we? Just between Hendrik de Graaf and Tim Perry. Looking very close in behind, isn't he? Hendrik de Graaf trying to find a way through as they come up through the S's. Tim Perry watching his rear view mirror as they come now up towards the chicane for the second time of this race. And there's a run coming through from Hendrik de Graaf. The Belgian looking to the inside, but only a look, not a move, not a send. Waiting a little while. He's got plenty of time in the race. Only 2 laps on the board out of 70, and they are actually on the second lap, so it's only 1 lap fully completed out of 70. So Tim Perry will live to race another lap in 3rd place. Adam Wright as well, good stuff from him, up a position into the top 5. Michael Tyler and Stuart Musselwhite having good opening couple of laps, up 2 places from their starting order. But it's all about how you can carry on for the remainder of the race. It's all well and good getting a few positions done early, as we see Michael Tyler there. Bit of a moment going through the second to last corner, and again another moment on acceleration going through the final corner. A little bit of grass and tyres perhaps upsetting the rhythm. This was it, going into the left-hander. Just too much speed, understeers out wide, loses the place to, I believe that was Paul Gosling who got on by. So drivers getting caught out, Hasse, I think, by cool tyres.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed, and the fact that it's just such a different car to drive. Hendrik de Graaf, though, seems on it here from the start. Not able to find a way through on Tim Perry, but he's very close indeed. And something we'll see here that's going to be quite different to the oval side of things is just how the tire wear is going to play out. Edward, you mentioned it as well. And I think some of the drivers are going to be wanting to take an easy approach to the opening phase of the race here, just to make sure that they don't go into the red on the rubber too quickly here. The 2 Quantum cars up ahead, Barnes and Greatorex, are settling into their pace, it seems to me at least. And Perry, de Graaf, Wright, Sufi, etc., et al., they're all back there, wanting to get on level terms with the 2 leaders. Done very well, though, the 2 Quantum drivers to get themselves well off the line. There's Matty Sufi in the 64, still trailing Adam Wright. Still looking for a way past here. And we still haven't seen anyone really get that big jump on the car ahead. This time around for de Graaf, but he's not going to be close enough, is he, into the chicane? Certainly not. But every time they go through here, look at the exit speed de Graaf is carrying there compared to Tim Perry.
But it's Tim Perry just being a little bit slower into the corner, slower out, looking after the tyres. Hendrik de Graaf in this early stage of the race is piling the pressure on, trying to find a way through, but in doing so is asking a lot more of his pair of boots compared to car ahead Tim Perry's, who actually gets a bit loose on the rear, so maybe I spoke too soon. Down the inside goes Hendrik de Graaf. He's been looking racy and looking quick all through the opening few laps, but isn't able to take advantage. He gets a little twitch on the exit of the final corner, and that hampers his run all the way down into turn 1, but Graaf brakes a little bit earlier now. Takes a lot of the attitude out of the car in terms of the twitchiness, the amount he puts on his steering lock, not scrubbing the steering, scrubbing the speed either up through the S's. It's all about being nice and gentle. I thought you can see he's not full throttle at all like you would be in a GT car or anything else up through the S's. Had to be very, very deft with his right foot. Coming to the chicane, just look at the closing speed now. He's been getting much better runs through it all race long and is carrying on doing exactly that as they come through the long sweeping right-hander once more. Doesn't seem to be able to find a way through. Let's have a look at, though, Graham van Uitven in the 284 Dynamics Racing Simulators. Chevy looking to get through out of fellow Belgian Damien Ben Imazil for DVI Esports, but no way through at the moment. Here we come back to the fighting up ahead. We've got Tim Perry once more under pressure as Hendrik de Graaf now goes down the inside into the first corner. He's going to have to commit late on the brakes. He sends it through Does he stick it through? Oh, maybe not. There's going to be a little bit of a fight on the exit. Eventually gets up into P3. There could be a fight coming through, though, depending on the run Tim Perry can manage. Does seem to be a decent enough run, but that initial acceleration phase and top end from Hendrick Graf, it's just too strong. He's got his car set up beautifully for this Watkins Glen circuit. The only thing that could be a question mark is how much he's asking of his tyres in these opening few moments of the race.
Oh, and the Grave running very wide. Then aiming for the late apex there, and you can see he gets a good run out of there. Might be easy on the tires as well to take that late apex. Of course, I'll be used to the boot version of that corner, which is a little bit less long. It's a little bit of a shorter corner. In this layout, the Cup layout, it's very, very long indeed. And Tim Perry is now falling ever so slightly behind Hendrik de Grave, and I'm afraid we've had an issue, a short one nonetheless, for Damien van Immerseel. Here it's in the chicane. He cuts the course, I think, here. That's going to gain him a slowdown. Then indeed, Van Uften goes straight past around the outside, as we would expect. Up ahead, though, Barnes and Austin Greaterix, not to be forgotten. The two teammates really gotten into the really close action yet. They seem to be running in formation so far, but they're doing it very, very well indeed.
Yeah, I've just seen as well. I think Seb Herber and Paul Gosling have been swapping and changing positions. There's been a battle going on there for 9th position. Let's have a look at this. So how did it kick off? Seb Herber making a big mistake through the first corner, and that was where he lost out on the position. Damage on the right front fender isn't going to help his cause one bit. He can carry on for the time being as long as there isn't suspension damage, which, judged by how the car is driving, doesn't seem to be a concern at the moment for Seb. So we can carry on. But what I am surprised by is the pace of Tim Perry. Qualified very well, but in terms of how the car is racing at the moment with a full tank of fuel, it doesn't look as quick. It's something I think Tim Perry is struggling to deal with, is the car with a full tank of fuel. Maybe as well, though, driving the car a little bit easier, not taking as much out of the fuel, not taking as much out of the tyres, rather, thinking about the long game. He's stabilised the gap somewhat now, as long as he can stay close behind.
Apologies for any sound issues that we're facing. It's on the face of it seems like it's a Discord problem, because my internet connection is fine, the stream is fine, Edward's internet connection is also fine, and yet somehow it manages to be a little bit wobbly, you could safely say there. Edward's sounding like he swings between a humane form and a sort of an android machine, if you will. Anyways, back to the action as Matty Sufi's now yet again closing in on Adam Wright, who also is closing in on Tim Perry. Tim Perry, though, as you said, was falling back ever so slightly from De Grave, but he seems to have stabilized his pace by now. And looks to be a very, very good battle. Might be developing here for third in the race. At the moment, it's 3.5 seconds from Greaterix to De Grave. Well, it's not a huge advantage. It's certainly a comfortable cushion for the two up ahead, isn't it?
Yeah, Matthew Sufi in a close fight now with Adam Wright, who's trying to find a way through. Can't get the run, though, and it's all about getting that run. Getting a nice deft foot on the loud pedal, not scrubbing the speed, not spinning the wheels, because if you do that, you lose any sort of advantage you can gain through the rest of the corner. Look at that, through the second to last corner. Matthew Sufi getting a much better line. Could set him up as well coming out of the final corner, which it does. If you can get a good acceleration out, which he doesn't, he would have been able to have slipped the move down the inside at turn one. That has to wait just a little while longer, but the pressure is starting to tell on Adam Wright. making a few mistakes here and there. It could all start to unravel with number 27.
We're on lap 10 of 70 to do for tonight. Seems we have a cautious start from most of the field here, and it's probably a wise approach. Do you expect the things to kick off wildly later in the race, or do you think drivers are just trying to settle in what they into what they think, or they maybe might even know is their sort of pace around this track here?
Yeah, Matthew Sufi, very quick at the moment. Have a look as well at Henrik de Graaf's pace, lapping on par with the leaders just about. So don't count him out as long as he can keep up this turn of speed, keep touch with those cars ahead. He could still get a very good result, maybe even a trip to the top step if things go his way. That is, of course, if things go his way, because the Quantum Racing drivers can, of course, work together, play the strategy game, maybe swap around positions if one driver wants a little bit of slipstream, save a bit of fuel for the next pit stop. They are more than able to do that. We've already seen the order swap around once. It's Greater X now leading ahead of John Barnes, who was our pole sitter. As we come a little bit further back and see Seb Herbert very close to Paul Gosling. Seb Herbert with that damage to the right front. Let's have a look.
Oh, Gosling was in the grass there.
Yeah, off on the grass. And Seb Herbert will take that all day, every day. And how did it happen? Oh, he just ran just a little bit too wide. Touched onto the grass that dragged him out wide. That could have gone much, much worse. Thankfully, he was able to recover the car, keep it on the racing surface eventually. But it could be sketchy, scary stuff later on in the race for Paul Gosling, as more and more cars are arriving on the scene now. Michael Tyler, after his moments earlier on in the race, seems to have a good turn of pace, and Stuart Musselwhite is going to be looking through on John Tusting. So the race is still got a few more battles left in it, and we're not even at the first pit stop phase yet.
Absolutely, absolutely so. And well, we're expecting the drivers to really try and stretch it as far as you can. Stuart Musselwhite with a big old wobble of his machine through the final corner, yet he seems to get a reasonable drive, not enough to get the run on Tusting. Certainly, Owen Tyler's gone through on Gosling as well, and that's a big old wide run there. Maybe a little bit too wide. Let's see here how Michael Tyler got the job done. Into turn one. Just measured on the brakes, diving for the inside. No real competition in that situation, at least. From Gosling, as he's taking a wise, measured approach to things here, not wanting to get too entangled early days. Battle here still going strong, still going on indeed. Matty Sufi close, but not close enough to Adam Wright. Adam Wright doing a very good job of staying cool with a car in his mirrors. They'll be used to that from the ovals, but it's always different on a road course. I think we know very well indeed, Edward, the feeling of having someone close in behind, putting on the pressure like that. It's never really nice, is it?
Ooh, it's not fun at all, especially when you think, how long is this guy going to be here for? Are they going to be for the whole 70-lap duration of this race? And that's when you start to maybe think more about the car behind, not focus on the road ahead, and you start to make a few mistakes. So that's what Matthew Sufi is going to be counting on in trying to find a way through on Adam Wright. Having a look though, and actually Tim Perry is losing a little bit of touch to Henrik de Graaf, but only just. The lap time is still very, very close to one another, so don't count them out just yet. Plenty more scope for drivers to get a little bit, but the lap times have fallen off a little bit, Hasse. So I think that's just down to the tyre wear going. They're now lapping just over about a second and a half slower than they would have done towards the start of the race, as we see. Oh my word, that's the second place driver.
Oh!
John with a huge moment. That was coming out of the second to last corner. Massive, massive incident.
And he's had another one, I think. Yeah.
Has he had a second incident? Oh no, this is the incident again. But
this is first one, and then
fully.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then look at the Grave, who will indeed get the run. I don't think that the Grave actually got through on him, but he's very, very close indeed. Look at this here. And he'll have the speed advantage once they hit the straight down towards the chicane. This is not an easy place to overtake, and the Grave knows it. He'll rather wait for that diving opportunity into turn 1. Seems to be the safest place. Somehow, I think Dunbarn sort of got away with that. Although any damage, I think, is going to cost you dearly on a track like this.
I think if it was talking about on a speedway, he would be in a lot of trouble with that damage. But because we're on a road course, it's the damage to the side of the car. It doesn't affect the aero performance that much. In fact, there isn't really much aero to speak of, is there, in these road courses? It's all about all the grip you get from the tyres, which is why we've seen the lap times fall as much as we have in the space of about 15 laps now. Drivers are definitely lapping a lot slower. Austin Greatorex race leader's lap time was 2.2 seconds slower than his best so far. Just shows the performance has started to wane a little bit. You might see drivers opt to make pit stops very shortly.
Indeed, that's a good call. Pit lane isn't too long here, but you will be looking at around 30 seconds at least, I think.
I think as well, wouldn't you pick? Because 2 seconds lap on a short lap where it's what? 2 minutes 10, 2 minutes 15 lap times. 2 minutes is quite a lot.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed. 2 seconds is a lot when you're talking
2 seconds,
when you're talking 1:15. That's quickly gonna get caught back. The thing is that you don't want to get caught out, of course. We had the opportunity to throw a full course yellow at the early parts of the race, but it is actually such that just running the usual road cautions, so to say, here. There's been a few of those already, but I think less than we might have expected. Drivers seem to be well and good with the no ABS. These cars relatively twitchy on the brakes. A little bit of a surprise to me that the Grave hasn't really been able to take advantage of John Barnes' moment from before. And here's a bit of a moment from Austin Greatorex, the de facto leader, who gets onto the grass and the car sucks him out there. Oh my word! Almost gets it all wrong there as well. Just goes to show that no one's safe in a race like this. The Grave, I think his tires are really beginning to go over the cliff as well. So it would seem to me, look at that. Looks like the car's
struggling to turn it in.
Yeah, and the rear really starting to go as well. So all 4 tires seeming like they are working pretty hard indeed. And meanwhile, Tim Perry, Adam Wright, and Matty Sufi is now within a stone's throw of one another. And that'll be a stone throw for a 5-year-old, pretty much, because they are quite close indeed.
Yeah, but who's going to blink first? Who is going to be the driver to come into the pits first, Hasse? They are very close to one another. If Matthew Sufi feels like he's being held up behind the back of Adam Wright, he could opt for a slightly earlier pit stop and try and find a way through that way. Maybe all the drivers are waiting for a caution to come through, but it doesn't seem likely unless it's an incident involving all 3 of these drivers that we'll see a caution flag raised, really. So, as far as Matthew Sufi, hard coming for the pits now and try and make something of this race. It all depends as well, though, where he comes back out. So if he comes back out into traffic, might hamper him up a little bit, but he should have the tyres to easily breeze on by. It's so difficult, though, isn't it, Hasse, in these races, especially for the drivers, this being some of their first races around a road course in these NASCARs. It's kind of an unknown for them. They don't know when's the right time to pit, what's the right strategy to go for.
It's absolutely true. And gotta be wondering, the undercut could be really, really efficient here, because if someone comes in, fix their tires, and then comes out, be able to get their laps times down to the low 112s that we saw in the early days of this race, you would be gaining a lot of time very quickly. and track position would easily be gained. Of course, we have a maximum of 4 sets of tires. That's also worth taking into consideration that the very, very earliest we can be expecting people in is on around lap 23, which would be the way to stretch the race into sort of 4 equal bits. Which is not true. So I'm doing the head maths on it real quickly. That would be if it was 3 sets of tires overall. But it isn't. So basically, the tire stop pit window will be open already. Greater-X has had another off-track incident, I think. Or was that just the one from before? It popped up on my event viewer anew, but it's...
Oh, I think he was paying attention to the road. He dropped off. That was a very strange incident.
It was the situation from before. Yeah, he's not the only one to have gone out there today, but it's the fact that you can use so much of the...
He had a fine run, though, through the final corner. After that, he just drifted slightly to the left and tapped the wheel on the grass, so he might have been maybe looking at the strategy in terms of going into the pits, maybe chatting to his race engineer or getting something sorted for the pits, and made a bit of a mistake.
Yeah, but it was the same incident from a few laps back that somehow just reappeared anew in the event viewer. Here comes Sufi, though, with a bit of a run and a good old look to the inside of Adam Wright. Though not really being able to make much of it yet. I think he also begins to realize, as well as we do here, Edward, the best overtaking opportunity here is certainly into turn 1. So it's all about trying to get close, trying to get really underneath the bumper of the car ahead into that final turn, get a good run. He'll be in with a good shot of overtaking in the end here. Tim Perry to lost a bit of time, and he's continually losing it as well. Over the last laps, though, it's stabilized. The front runners down to 14.5s now. De Grave, Tim Perry did similar pace on the last lap. Let's see what it is this time around for him. Actually, they gained a little bit back, so might be Greater-X and John Barnes having gone a little too hard too early. But we also saw Hendrik de Grave here in the picture, really looking like he struggled on his tires. The thing is that it's not necessarily an indication of tire wear as much as it's an indication of the tire temperatures having gone up too high. And a skilled driver will be able to be smooth for a lap or two and bring those temperatures back again into the optimum working range. And on some tracks, some cars, of course, are worse than others in this regard. And I think most sim racers will know the terror it is to drive around on rubber that's just getting too hot to handle. Just like having it in your hands, you know, it's not a nice feeling, is it? But sorry, there. Just back to the racing, indeed, because John Barnes did indeed lose about a 10.5 to Hendrik de Grave on that last lap. In the pace of Tim Perry, Adam Wright is gaining as well, and the gap to the leader at the moment is really getting bigger as well. So still a lot to fight for. Nothing is settled anyway yet. But I would be expecting the pit stops to be coming soon, given the pace does seem to fall off. Now, there's a thing with this tire model as well that's worth noticing, that you have a few good laps at the early part of the stint, and then the tire sort of settles into its pace. And that's what I think we see here as well, that the tires will be able to stay in this sort of working condition for quite a bit longer, actually, than they stay efficient and fresh, you know, and you can really get something out of them. And that might be the reason they are not pitting it, because they know that they might get a few fast laps, but it is indeed only going to be a few fast laps before it starts falling off again. And as such, it's not going to be worth it overall in terms of the net time loss you'll be experiencing. Indeed, Mew, welcome to you as well. as everyone else watching, nice to have you all along. And the Flemish boys do know how to make liveries. They do how to make liveries for every single car they race. Always striking, always very good looking indeed. And I actually think there is a Flemish liveried machine racing in, I think, is that the real Belcar series? I'm quite sure, maybe someone in chat knows. I believe I've seen pictures, at least. But a striking livery nonetheless.
They are. Fan favourites, aren't they, Flemish boys?
Absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, they're favourites of us in the commentary box as well. Every single one of us here at the Racersworld TV. We do like a nice Flemish SimSports livery. I know Chaz gushes over them in the Formula 3s, doesn't he?
He does. And but they're also really one of the staple-hold teams of what we do here or there, and pretty much everything we touch. And as such, it's always nice to see a familiar face. Familiar faces aplenty here, as Michael Tyler is on the tail of Seb Rømer. Michael Tyler doing quite well here in the 96. He's putting on the pressure, trying to get in to the top 10. They're lapping Van Immerseel there. Takes the wide line. Tyler maybe a little bit inconfident there in that situation, leaving a bit too much space to at least what I would think. The number 9 machine, we have the phantom of the track, Robbie Lundgren. I like that picture, that's a good one. And it's a full-fledged display there with the livery as well. He's really attacking it, maybe a bit of a curse of a commentator. He just about keeps it in. And I think he manages not to pick up a slowdown penalty.
That was close, Hasse. He was attacking it like he had full grip on his tyres, but you just can't do that at this stage of the race with 24 laps on the board now. John Barnes comes through to start this. Well, it's actually Austin Greatrex up in front. Comes through to start the 24th lap. John Barnes doing very well with the damaged car to keep up the pace he has been. Only a few tenths shy of Austin Greatrex up at the front of the field. So it's not all over yet, especially as Graf is trying to come through. Maybe get himself up into second place. Austin Greatrex is having a great time up at the front, isn't he? It's nearly 4 seconds clear of his teammate.
Yeah, and he dipped back into the 14s on that last lap there. And yes, indeed, Mew would be expecting Robert Lundgren to sing us the answers when we might get a chance to interview him at some point. That'll be an interesting one. I'd like to see that.
I'll tell you what, there's no better song than the sound of it is just roaring V8, is there? These NASCARs do sound brilliant.
So Barnes picked up a little bit of grass there coming into the corner. He's really pushing it. But he's still on the overall, losing a bit of time here and there to De Grave, who now also has the opportunity to take advantage of the slipstream of the car ahead. It seems like it's in the balance of just around 4 seconds from Barnes to Greatrex. I think if De Grave gets past here, should be able to make inroads into the advantage of the leading car. Greatrex, though, in a good position. And just... Austin Greatrex has been struck by so much bad luck as well. He's really been on pace so far this series. Been one of the main contenders. But has seen his race run into trouble on more than one occasion. I think same goes for John Barnes from Manchester, of course, who's also been taken out of race lead on a few occasions. Having... let's say, to say the least, unlucky incidents with a few back markers. Mew bets his money on Hendrik De Grave for the win. You can see why with the opening. Seems that little bit more steady than the drivers ahead. He's made fewer mistakes. And he's beginning to take advantage of it, though. Tim Perry, we've said that he's a little bit off what we expected from him pace-wise, but this is the Tim Perry we know, at least I know as well. Very calculated driver, and a very experienced one as well. who, if anyone in this field, I think would know the ins and outs of these cars, the tires, the strategy, so on. So don't be surprised to see Tim Perry be able to push that a little bit harder maybe later in the stint.
Yeah, that could be something to definitely keep a watchful eye on, Hasse, is how it goes later on in the race, how the stint starts to develop. As we are, well, the drivers have spent about, what, half an hour on these tyres. Definitely will be feeling, if they haven't been doing so already, the effects of warm road. But they've, like you've been mentioning, like we've been saying all race long, they've kind of plateaued now. The performance is stabilised for a bit. It kind of was good for a few laps, then fell off a bit of a cliff, and now they've sort of gotten back up to a reasonable standard of...
It's stabilized at that, yeah, I'm sorry, but it's stabilized at that level where it's fallen to. So, you know, you get the fresh tires and you have like well, more than 2 laps. Maybe.
I think as well, it's helped as well by the fuel coming out.
7 to 10 laps, of course, yeah, that's true. That's true as well. It seems like you got 7, 8, 10 laps of a really grippy tire before it starts to fall away. And that's the issue as well. That's the reason they're not taking those pit stops, because anyone doing so find himself off by, I think, about 10 seconds in the end when the tires then come back to the level that they are here. So I think drivers have done their homework on that account, as Barnes is not really able to clear himself up the Grave. That little bit of a squirt from the Toyota Camry is great to see indeed. And these NASCAR machines, we gotta talk about them for a second here, Edward. They are, of course, a different school of machine than what we see in Europe. This would be like what we have touring cars for, basically, but given 2 or maybe even 3 times the power and no sorts of driver aids whatsoever. It's a very basic machine. Only just now with these next-gen machines have they moved to a 5-speed sequential transmission. Although one where you still need some clever use of the clutch as well. So a lot of technique goes into driving these cars. And actually, I think more than you'd find in some of the higher downforce European machines that, to be honest, it's a little bit easier to rang around a track like this. But that's also part of the show here. The gap is status quo, pretty much, is coming up and down by a tenth here and there, just underneath a second, and it's been so for the last 10 minutes or so here. So the Grave might be just settling in, knowing that he's close, he wanting to go for the undercut at some point. Interestingly as well, that up ahead, I think Greater X isn't really expanding the gap big time. It's slight expansions here and there, but it's not too heavy. And actually, over the last few laps, the cars behind have been a little bit quicker than the leader. That's an interesting one here. Oh, Sufi's gotten past on Adam Wright. Well, that's something we haven't seen. Here it comes. And that is yet again out of the final corner. No, it's not this time. I'm sorry. That's my bad. That is, of course, into the chicane, as we could all see quite evidently. First time we've seen an overtake put in there, and of course it is possible, but it's a difficult art form to get right. So Matty Sufi already here on the tail of Tim Perry. He seems that the measured approach that he's taken, I think it's been a very good run. That car seems much more dialed and everything around him. Do you think he's been able to save the tires just that little bit more? That's what it looks like, at least to me.
I think you're bang on the money there, Hasse. He's been able to look after the car, save the tyres, and he's been on an absolute charge this last lap. Definitely one of the fastest drivers out on the circuit at the moment. Definitely quicker than Tim Perry and Adam Wright around him. But it's all about converting that pace into an overtake. It was so difficult, though, what he just did, overtaking through the chicane on, well, half-hour-old tyres. Watkins Glen circuit that Definitely, Hasse, you're very well aware of this, as am I. It's not the kindest track to your rubber, so Matthew Sufi is definitely the tyre whisperer here. And look at the run he's going to get through the S's. He's picked a great moment. He's going to try it again, down the inside. He's got the overlap, but he just isn't able to brake late enough and send the move down the inside. So Tim Perry has got to be wary of Matthew Sufi, because he is on a charge coming up through the S's. He is absolutely rapid.
He's on it at the moment, indeed. And at the lap times, I think he was held up maybe a little bit on the last lap. We've got the first driver in the pits. That's Damien van Immerseel. Comes in. Be looking at the pit stop times to try and calculate just how much of an effect it's gonna have to take those pit stops. Sufi's right underneath the bumper of Tim Perry here, but just not close enough. And as we've mentioned before, Sufi's in a very good position in the championship. Be down to driving like this as well, taking what comes to him. Being very, very, very consistent. We're indeed into the second half of this season. Mind you, here comes the overtaking attempt, I think, from Sufi. Just needing that a little bit more. Tim Perry, very nice run through the chicane this time. Further down here, Musselwhite and John Tusting close to one another. Up through these S's. Well, I think they're flat in this cards. It's a line dancer's effort there to keep the balance in the car. So easy to get it wrong here. Behate has had a problem. Kim Behate, he has to straight line the chicane. And that's gonna enable Robbie Lundgren to sail on by. What went wrong for Kim Behate here?
Just locks the brakes. The car doesn't behave itself into the chicane. That was a stretch. I know, Hasse. I'm trying to get the puns
in. My head just dropped there. I'm sorry.
It was bad, but
although it's
well.
Nothing, it wouldn't be below Chaz Draycott, would it, to be pulling a pun like that? Let's see if Stuart Musselwhite can indeed muscle his way through on Van Immerseel into turn one. Let's keep the pun tradition going here, and he does indeed. Or does he? Oh, the commentator's curse strikes again! As the rear just breaks for Stuart Musselwhite. John Tusting as well has had a massive moment. I think the car just loses contact with the inside, and that kind of, there's a slight dip there on the inside of turn one that you need to be quite careful of. Let's just see what happened here for John Tusting. He's had a rather lengthy... Oh, that looks very weird to me indeed, Edward.
Oh, that to me says some sort of hardware issue.
Yeah,
maybe
I think that
green goes blank or loses force feedback or something. But
I think John Tusting spoke to us. Oh, Stuart Musselwhite has another issue. That's a massive jump there. Bit of a Dr. Dre.
Right.
Well, a bit of a Dr. Dre moment for him. Yeah, indeed. John Tusting, I think, races in VR, and that might have been it. I think we've seen it before. He spoke to us about we had some VR blackouts. That did look sort of like a driver who had no idea where he was going for a second there, which, of course, a fair game.
Never great.
No, a blank screen or a blank set of VR goggles isn't going to help you much.
There's a twitch from Tim Perry. Matthew Sufi is putting on the burners, trying to find a way through Hasse, but he's quick where he can't pass, which is, I think, the most frustrating thing for Matthew Sufi at the moment. He has the pace, but just not where you can make an overtaking move. So we'll go to this fight instead with Henrik de Graaf and John Barnes up in front. John, who's suffered a little bit of damage and has dropped back away from his teammate now, given Austin. Whoa, big moment from Henrik de Graaf. Good stuff, Hasse, catching that. That was a huge little twitch that he got, dropping back. I think he'll be closing in very shortly. Austin Greatrex, though, he's just far and away class of the field here at Watkins Glen. 6 seconds to the good. as we approach half distance. Driver from Northampton, number 13, is just really on the song here on this road course.
Yeah, very much so. So maybe just expecting this clean one-stopper at the midway point of the race. That it's the best way to do it. Sophie is getting close again on the rear end of Tim Perry. They are now relatively quickly catching up to Hendrik de Grave, who I think had some sort of issue here. The car sliding all over the place again. That might be the tire attempt that's crept up for Hendrik, because he was looking very sharp just a few laps ago. Now, after that bit of a moment, down to the final corner on the lap before this one, he seems to be struggling ever so slightly. In comes Tim Perry, the first of the front runners to blink. And I think
Austin Greatorex, who's also coming to the pits.
Greatorex is in as well.
Race
Good call.
leader comes into the pits. I think Tim Perry was just going to do what the race leader did. That means as well, by coming in earlier, he has more time on, or at least the first few laps out of the box will be faster. So he should be able to leapfrog. And then when he gets the track position, that helps him out to no end at this next phase of the race. So the car comes down, takes the last little bit of fuel on board. No, goes on to the other side, gets the tyres on. Then when they go down, he should go off back onto the circuit. So Austin Greatorex comes in from the pits from the lead of the race, exits out in P5. Tim Perry will come out of the pit lane in P8. But we do need to focus our eyes on Tim to figure out where exactly he will come out. He could still come out in a podium place, depending on how long John Barnes, Henrik Graf, Matthew Sufi spend out on the circuit.
Yeah, indeed. And looking at that overall pit time of around 40 seconds, see here, John Barnes, Hendrik de Grave, Matty Sufi, Adam Wright, all coming in now. They know that one lap they've done here might lose some track position in the end here. Let's see. So Barnes, de Grave, Sufi, and Adam Wright, all of them in here, and expect the rest of the field to pit in as well on this lap.
They're all coming in together, but it's all about who's going to get the Battle of Pit Road done in their favour. Who's going to come out on top this time by Tim Perry. Comes on through, and because he pitted that little bit earlier, he's going to blitz by all of them and find himself up in P2. But there's going to be a battle on pit exit between Hendrik de Grave, but Tim Perry jumps him.
Brilliant stuff from Tim Perry, and at some point de Grave might have a bit of a tire advantage, but it's not going to be for now. Maybe a few laps before that sets in. Tim Perry with the brilliant decision on the pit stop there. And just see how efficient that undercut was. That was quite immense. He's pipped de Grave, and he was battling with Sufi before. He now has a healthy 2-second lead over. John Barnes in 5th place ahead of Adam Wright now. Then Paul Gosling, Robbie Lundgren, Kim Behate, and Sepp Herberer.
Just to add to that, actually, Hasse, John Barnes lost out in the pit stops. He was up into 2nd place, holding on, but after that, this pit stop phase has dropped all the way down into P5. So a lot of time for the Quantum Racing driver to try and catch back up plenty of positions to make up before the end of the race if he's going to try and take back that P2 spot. Henrik Grave winning out though, getting up into P3. Could be very good for him, though he does need to now negotiate Tim Perry and try and find a way through. He's got a good run up through the S's. This is where we've seen time and time again drivers try moves into the chicane, but it's key emphasis on try. It's so difficult to actually pull off the moves. Instead, we're just going to see Hendrik de Grave go for a little look, not actually sending it into the chicane. But he brakes a lot sooner, carries less speed throughout the chicane. Means he uses the tyres a little bit less as well, and that should see him nicely towards the latter stage of the race once Tim Perry has picked his tyres.
Two now braking ever so slightly away from Matty Sufi, and I think John Barnes might just have been held up by taking a few of the repairs. That right-hand side of the car certainly looks okay. Of course, the damage was on the other side, wasn't it? Yes,
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
most
John
certainly.
Barnes. I think John Barnes just got ahead, actually, of Adam Wright this lap. I think. I might be looking at it wrong. Maybe I'm thinking... Actually, yeah. He must have done, because he set the fastest lap of the race so far, a 1:11.82. It's a very quick pace from John Barnes coming through to the forefront. Maybe not overtaking Adam Wright, but definitely having good pace to catch back up to those ahead.
Yeah, indeed, and our pole sitters certainly know a thing or two about squeezing out the pace of the machine over a single lap. Question is, how will he fare in the long run, as we're closing in on the final 30 laps of racing here from the Glen. Our first visit to Watkins Glen in the SRW NASCAR Cup Series. This round, of course, kindly sponsored by SimStickers. The sticker to power your simulation needs. Man, I should be... They should hire me to come up with slogans. That'd be great. I'd be doing great back in the 1950s or 60s, back when that was really a thing. Now it's like slogans like "Think Different." Oh, that's a really bad example, because nowadays that's like 30 years old, isn't it? But regardless, I would have done great in that business in once upon a long gone time indeed. Which isn't much used, which is a lot of use, however, is that the fact that, oh, look at Hendrik de Graave yet again. Close, not close enough though into the chicane. What we've seen is Tim Perry be strong from here. This final sector of the track, de Graave hasn't managed to really get close enough for him to snatch away the position. But Hendrik de Graave and Matty Sufi, third and fourth at the moment. Mind you, they're atop the standings, so there's a little infight for championship points between them as well. Right now, Sufi's ahead of de Graave, and here is... Oh, John Barnes! He's in the gravel! Let's see what happened here. I think he's gone off. Oh, the rear just breaks away from him. Adam Wright sails on by as he goes into the gravel trap. Gets the car rolling again. Oh, that's going to be issues, to say the very least, for John Barnes. Austin Greatorix, meanwhile, all this is happening. Austin Greatorix has been steadily expanding his advantage over the last few laps. He's dipped into the 11s as well, with an 11.96, which is a very fast lap, to say the least. Last lap was a 12.9. His advantage over these two now up to 9.7 seconds. So Austin Greatorix looking very good. Both of the cars with a bit of a squirm there. And it's not the traditional place for an overtake, but are we going to see a send from de Graave here into the left-hander? Oh, we're not. He thinks better of it. Tim Perry. Cool, calm, and collected. Look again! De Graave with huge moments here and there all of a sudden, just showing how much of a challenge the next-gen car is on a road track like this. And one who will be licking his lips in behind is the gentleman in the picture now, Matty Sufi in the 64, who over the opening stint of the race certainly was the driver to pick up the pace as the stint was going on and going longer and longer. So expect him to be strong over the final bits and bobs of this race as well. So Greatorix leads Perry, de Graave, Sufi, and Adam Wright. Adam Wright just about 2.5 seconds off of Matty Sufi, so don't discount him just yet. Although at this point, Edward, it's really hard to say anything but that it looks like a Greatorix win if he can keep things together at the head. Here comes de Graave, and they're gonna go too wide this time around, and he's gonna sneak it up the inside. Just about space. No, there's not, and they're both out.
no.
And that's a massive one, I'm afraid, as Tim
That's
Perry...
going to be a caution. Do you reckon that could be a caution, Hasse? There's a huge...
No, and no. We've got a local caution, but full course was only for the opening part of the race, as I was informed. So no full caution. Here's another look at it, though. Perry's on the outside. He's got nowhere to go, but the Krave can't get out of the way as well. Oh, he must be absolutely livid with that. That goes for both of them. I don't think they...
Carrying on, even with the damage that he's got. So does Hendrik de Graaf.
I think his car seems to be,
slightly
crabbing, maybe.
Oh, you think you might be? Ooh. Could be slightly. We might be able to tell if you go on board, coming out of along right-hander, and then try and find out. Can we see the steering wheel? Not really.
Not really. So, but
you can definitely see it's not handling at all great. Might be having to do might be a little bit of crabbing going on there. It doesn't look too steady, does it, Hasse?
Doesn't look all too great for de Graaf. It was at least the Muse pick for the race. That's gone down the drain, I'm afraid, now for de Graaf. It looks strong indeed. It's really opened up the door for Matty Sufi, though, and Adam Wright. Those two have crawled up into second and third place following that incident. Let's just see if we can get another look here. We'll go on board with Hendrik de Graaf.
So let's have a look here. Oh, I think Hendrik de Graaf expects to have got the position already done and dusted. Doesn't think that Tim Perry is going to be there on the outside. If they just afforded each other a little bit more room, they would have come away with, well, would have come away in one piece. But as it stands, the incident happened. They've got to move on and try and take as much as they can out of the race. Tim Perry and Giraffe still 4th and 5th, which will be a good result for them, as John Barnes, though, is quickly approaching and can see a few more places that can go his way. It's played right into the hands of John Barnes, who had some misfortune, didn't he, earlier on in the race after that big mistake, actually, just here. A few laps earlier, about 20 laps or so earlier. He's done well, though, to come back, hasn't he, following that mistake. Up into 6th position now.
Indeed, a good point. So we're on board with our current leader. Porsche Sports says that Greaterix looks familiar. I'm sure he does. He'll look familiar to all the back markers he's lapping at the moment as well. Because he is going on at a pace that no one's been able to keep up with so far, at least in this race. And he's gotten to a point where he can almost allow himself the luxury of just easing off ever so slightly. We're gonna stay on board a lap with Austin Greaterix just to show you the ins and outs of this cup layout into turn 1 down into 2nd gear. Really trying to take an early apex to avoid the dip there on the inside of turn 1, then up through the S's. Not quite flat, as you can hear. There's a bit of a lift. Another lift there over the crest. And then it's flat out all the way down to the chicane. Greaterix, I think one of the few drivers we've seen to actually touch 5th gear. Trying to take a tidy, narrow line through the chicane. Then into the long, long right-hander. And a difficult one, just because it tightens in at the end of the corner. Greaterix with the tight line all the way around. We've seen drivers up for the wider line as well, then flat out into the final 2 corners. 3rd gear for the left-hander. Careful not to touch the grass, but to use the banking there on the inside. And then, of course, the final corner, in which particularly the exit has caused quite a bit of trouble, because you can take all of the exit there, but it'll bring you onto the grass if you stay there for too long. That's certainly not a place that the car likes to be in. That much is certain here now. Look at this. Hendrik de Graaf, Tim Perry. I'm back for round 2. Is it gonna be deja vu? I hope not. Tim Perry just concedes the position here. He's got no front bumper left. I think he's come off the worst damage-wise in that incident between himself and De Graave. But very much a racing incident as well, because De Graave seemed to think that he was clear of Tim Perry. Tim Perry wanted to try and see if he could get that run into the final corner on the inside and contest the position down towards turn 1 as well, which is legit as well, but just one of those small misunderstandings, and goes to show just how little it takes to get it all wrong, especially in the simulator. And I've mentioned this on so many occasions, I'll gladly do so again. One thing that the VR headsets, of course, give a sort of a big advantage with is the spatial awareness around the car. And of course, again, drivers on triple screens or with a ultra wide or another big screen that's right up in their face will have an advantage on this point, whereas anyone on a smaller monitor placed a bit away, you know, I've tried it myself, and I think a lot of people that aren't maybe on the most expensive rigs in the world, that's myself included, with screens that aren't the size of the back wall in the room, that you just can't see that much out to the sides of the car, and you really don't have that great spatial awareness that really means so much. Now John Barnes is coming back to them here.
Yeah, but this has been a real interesting race, hasn't it? Hasse, the first road course race of this Simracersworld NASCAR Cup Series, isn't disappointed. We've had some intriguing battles. The strategies have worked well for some drivers, not so well for others. Tim Perry, up until his incident, was a driver that really did profit up into second place and defending from Henrik de Graave for a lot of time. But drivers...
De Graave is on the grass!
He's had a moment. He's going to have to take a slowdown, but because of the tyre wear, it goes off of the fastest lap time delta. He doesn't really slow down that much, so it doesn't hurt his performance.
Talk about an expert commentator's point of view there. That is brilliant, Edward May, because a lot of people would think about that, but it's absolutely true, of course. The time penalties being taken off the fastest lap delta, your fastest lap delta, and as such, quicker driver on a slower lap. If he gets a slow corner anyways, sometimes those penalties might not hurt all that much. Oh, De Graave struggling to keep the car going in the right direction, just about manages to, but he's been sliding about all night. We're still on the replay for some reason as well. Now we're back to live pictures up through the S's. De Graave is still in fourth. The standings still as follows, as you can see on screen as well. Greater X leading Sufi, right. De Graave, Perry, John Barnes, Robbie Lundgren, Kim Behate, Seb Herberer, and Michael Tyler, of course, in 10th place. We've seen few drivers struck with the misfortunes of NASCAR off-road circuits. It just goes to show it's a completely different beast. And to think about cars like this running on tracks like Sonoma or Laguna Seca, or it really gives another dimension, because a lot of Europeans, I think, sometimes at least, seem to think that, oh, the NASCAR driver, oh, John Barnes is gonna lose it this time around. He's hit the wall. Just a bit too early on the throttle, I think. He comes around.
From bad to worse, isn't it, for John Barnes? Unfortunately, not having an evening to remember after getting on pole position. He's getting it all wrong in the race.
I'm afraid you're right. And so is Adam in third place here. The 27 car. The punts are coming, Eddie. and so is my mood coming back. I'd like to extend a thanks to all of you for joining in with us. I've had sort of a bad day, and sometimes when you've had a bad day, what you need to do is indulge yourself in a nice activity that really is something that you like. I love commentating here on SRW TV, and certainly it's lightened my spirits, which I'm thankful for. So thank you all for giving me the opportunity to do such. Although it might seem a little weird since you're the ones watching. But anyway, it makes sense to me, which is the most important thing, I think. Anthony Pang is with us. Hello, mate. Welcome to what's been an eventful race here. We're coming into the final 20 laps of racing. And I want to make sure that Austin Greaterix just doesn't fly under the radar. That sometimes happens, doesn't it, Edward? When we have dominant leaders in races like this, it sometimes happens that they just tend to fly under the radar and do their own race out with no real battles going on or anything. And as such, if there's battles going on somewhere else on track, we'll be watching that because we want to see the interesting racing. But just a shout out to Austin Greaterix, who has been so strong here tonight.
Just so good, really. He's been far and away the class of the field here. He might not put it on pole, but he is just over the race distance, being far and away the fastest driver out on the track for Quantum Racing and for everybody out here as well. And the real benchmark for drivers to try and chase. Got the strategy done nicely, going for a one-stop up until the end, pitted on the halfway mark, and has carried on now. And has got 20 laps with a 15-second advantage to see him right up until that checkered flag drops for him. Matthew Sufi as well, though, kind of been a little bit under the radar as well, has just come on through while there's been battling all around him in this final stint. It's just been nice and steady with his pace. Currently up into second position with a healthy margin as well, at 3.5 seconds to nearest challenger, Adam Wright.
And it's a good point. Matty Sufi doing what has brought him to the championship lead so far, of course, and managing to do that very same thing on a track where the racing is so different just shows the mark of what could be a coming series champion here now. I'm not going to jinx anything, but Matty Sufi somehow seems to be relatively immune to whatever curse we bestow upon people here from the comms booth, Edward. Adam Wright as well has done a good job tonight, so far at least. And he'll be hoping to carry on, although he scraped something at some point. I'm not quite sure where that comes from. I'll see if we can have a look. I don't think he's had any incidents, at least not on the incident viewer. So we're a bit in the dark about what happened to Adam Wright's car, but I don't think it's impacted him too much. Still sitting at a comfortable almost 13-second lap down to, or it's not a 13-second lap, that would be a very swift lap indeed. No, a 13-second gap, that is, down to Hendrik de Grave. Such a shame, though, with de Grave and Tim Perry, because that battle between the two was so good, such a good battle to follow, and just such a shame it had to end in tears like it did.
Yeah, it really is. It's still, though, it has been a great evening's racing, hasn't it? Just some drivers not been getting the luck, whereas other drivers have been having a much more measured drive. Robert Robb as well. I don't think we've hardly noticed him, but he's made up 4 places this race, up in the 6th place.
Yeah, indeed. It's, of course, Robbie Lundgren, who, for some reason in the project file, that's my bad. I don't know why he keeps on appearing as Robert Robb, but I think I know what happened. That's I copied the wrong name in the wrong place in the project file, and then Robbie Robb it is, Robert Robb. But Robbie Lundgren, of course, our apologies. It's only on Edward's screen that it shows as Robbie Robb still. I have fixed it, just to be absolutely clear about that. And I have a bit of a chat with Robert before the race here, as he's no longer part of the boosted team, now races as a privateer. Maybe that was just because he could get his opera-themed machine in the running. The Phantom of the track, indeed. Currently in 6th place overall, and he's driven a very, very smooth race as well. One of the few cars on track, really, to have stayed out of trouble completely here, along with Kim Behade, it seems. Sub Herbert had a bit of an issue earlier on, but he's had good pace about him. He's beginning to catch back up to Kim Behade. And those two could be catching up to Robbie Lundgren as well, as I think they are on a better pace for the time being. Could see a battle developing for 6th place here between these 2 cars, or these 3 cars actually, over the final, 15 laps of the race or so. we're moving towards, at this point, 17 laps to go of this 70-lap race. 170 miles will be done when the drivers see the checkered flag here at the Glen. 6th round of action from the SRW Next Gen NASCAR Cup Series. Of course, sponsored by SimStickers. This round, there's a link to their webpage in the description. Speaking of SimStickers, I've actually thought about ordering a custom pack, because I'm not sure they have a sticker pack for the Logitech G29. I'm quite sure that they could make one if you so give them the measurements of whatever stickers you need for the buttons. I'd like to have my PlayStation dials and buttons, and so have something a little bit more racy than X, circle, square, and triangle and stuff like that on them. And that is exactly what they're here for. So if you're in a need like me, hop on their webpage and check what they can do for you. Kimberhade still doing well for himself, although Sepp Herberer is closing in. As I'm watching back here on this battle between Paul Gosling and Stuart Musselwhite, I expected Paul Gosling to go well tonight, but that's because he's been going well overall here for the last few rounds as well. But as we've spoken to Paul about as well, some of the post-race interviews and a lot of the drivers as well, they see this series as a sort of relaxed series that you can pop in and not do too much practice, which sort of makes sense on the oval side of things. They aren't all that different, and usually there's, maximum 2 corners to learn if you have to learn anything. So for someone used to having to learn road tracks, it's not that hard, to say the least. But that's
it's a different sort of challenge.
It's a different sort of challenge. Yeah, it's not that it's not difficult. It's different. It's just very different.
It's something that a lot of the drivers that are coming as well from more road racing experience have to get used to, and then they've been getting used to it all the time. Coming back to a road course in these cars is basically like having to learn the car all over again and relearn how it is to drive. Obviously, these drivers do take part in Road Series races outside of this championships. Like, this is their first time back in a road race after racing exclusively NASCARs. They do race pretty much anything and everything, but it is definitely tricky when you are driving on a new style of circuit in a car you're used to driving in a certain way for the first time. Drivers, some of them have definitely been taking to it better than others. None better than the man who leads with 15 laps to go, Austin Greatorex.
Austin Greatorex, the class of the field for today. There can be very little doubt about it. And when you see his car compared to everybody else, he just seems to be keeping it that little bit more neat, that little bit more tidy through the corners. He's taking chances in the sense that he's taking advantage of every bit of tarmac given to him. He has had a moment with the grass. I think he learned from that and sort of just eased it off a little bit. Austin Greatorex certainly looks like he's heading towards a win for himself here today. And for Quantum Racing as well. And seeing how Aldegrave is 4th, Behade is 7th at the moment. And a bit of a shame for Quantum that John Barnes crashed out and John Tosting sitting there in 12th place. So it might actually be that in the overall standings on the team side of things, Flemish could be looking at a slight points increased. I'm not going to be able to do the head maths on that one because I'm not even going to get into it because chances are I'm going to get it wrong. and I'm not going to put myself in that position again. I've made myself mathematically vulnerable once too many times tonight. I've failed miserably, haven't I? But anyways, it's looking very good for Sufi in the driver's standings at the moment, with 2nd place for him, looking to increase his points lead on Hendrik de Grave. And whether that'll stand to the checkered flag, we'll have to see here with 14 laps to go of this race. And now look at Stuart Musselwhite here on the tail of Paul Gosling. Big old look, but it's going to be nothing more than that.
It's getting to the phase, though, where You don't have long left. You've got to take your chances when they come to you. You might need to start sending a few more optimistic lunges up through the S's, though. What can Stuart Musselwhite do? Gets a good run midway through the S's, but on the bit where it counts on the run into the chicane, he's nowhere. He doesn't have the ability to get his foot flat to the floor to power out. So instead, stays behind Paul Gosling for the moment. But this is the battle. The cars that are closest on the track are Stuart Musselwhite and Paul Gosling. And Stuart Musselwhite needs to focus fully on the next overtaking opportunity, makes most of his chances into turn number 1. So get a good run through the final couple of turns. Set yourself up brilliantly for that move down the inside into turn 1 as we come to Robert Lundgren and Kimber Hayat, who are still close, but I don't think we're going to see any moves coming through from there. We are going to see Stuart Musselwhite closing back to Paul Gosling. They got the gap down to 0.2 of a second, but then once that finish line, the gap is increased to 0.3 of a second. But Stuart Musselwhite does break a little bit earlier, goes slower in, and tries to aim for a faster run out of the corner, which could work for him, could be a way to as well use slightly less of the tyres up through the S's once more. Does Stuart Musselwhite get a good run this time through? Up in behind Paul Gosling. No, he doesn't. Not really. Won't be challenging into the chicane, so the frustration is going to kick in for Stuart. He spent so long in behind. Definitely quicker, but can't make advantage of his pace.
He's got time left. 12 laps to go still. Wait to 13 minutes of racing. 14 maybe even. So still opportunities for Musselwhite. I think if he can just keep his cool, pick the right moment, he'll still have a good shot, because I think you're completely right on that call, Edward. I think he certainly does have the pace at the moment on Paul Gosling. And seeing how the tires should be settled into the groove, there shouldn't be too much happening on that front here towards the end of the race, of course, unless they really go and overheat him. But in the end, it's such a hard thing as well, being so close to a driver, but just not being able to get that critical run there. It's just a little bit of a touch of the inside curb. Unsettles the car for Stuart Musselwhite at a critical moment, and it seems to upset his run, I think, down towards the chicane. Now up ahead, it's Lundgren, Behate, and Hebera. Hebera was actually a fair bit away behind Behate last time we saw these drivers, so Sepp Hebera certainly coming back at Robbie Lundgren and Kim Behate. Whatever that's gonna mean in the end, we'll see. I think Hebera is sort of in the same position as Stuart Musselwhite, a little bit further back. Gonna be wanting, not only wanting, he's gonna be able to as well to get past, but question is if the chance is really gonna present itself. That might just happen for Kim Behate, who's very close to Robbie Lundgren here, and I think he's got the run down towards the chicane. Not quite, though. And that's straight with the S's. When you're flat up through there in an LMP2, it seems like an awful long straight. But of course, when the S's are taking more like an actual corner than a sort of a bendy straight, if you will, then it becomes much shorter all of a sudden. It disappears quickly, to say the very least. and it seems that it's difficult to get the run there. We've only really seen De Grave able to take advantage. De Grave, by the way, even with that crash with him and Tim Perry, has managed to still keep himself in 4th place. And Sufi there, Adam Wright actually not too far off. Just having a look at the lap time here, Edward. Adam Wright on that last lap, 0.4 of a second up on Matty Sufi. So the gap there of about 2 seconds now, it could indeed come down quite quickly here over the closing laps of the race. We could see an explosion all of a sudden, in a good sense, of course, and in the sense that Adam Wright in that 27 could try and take his rightful place, some might say, at second. It would be a great result for the 27, the BSTV esports machine. And with us for seasons as well now. On so many occasions, especially over the last season that we had. It was indeed season 2. So many times Adam Wright find himself in unlucky situations, just being caught up in the incidents, as you do, especially on the ovals. If someone crashes up ahead of you, in many situations it's down to at least as much luck as it is skill to make your way around an incident like that. And Adam Wright has certainly found himself on the receiving end a fair few times on that. So a well-deserved result. Let's just hope they can keep it pointing in the right direction here for the final 8 laps of racing. Raider X has already passed the line here as he comes through turn 1. Another shot on that leading 13 car. And you have to wonder if that number sort of made a little bit of an unlucky gesture there for Austin Greatorex, because, well, he's certainly not been lucky this season, has he?
Yeah, not really been the luckiest of drivers, but well, there's always time, isn't there, in the next race to try and get a bit of fortune, like we're seeing Austin Greatorex get now. To the front of the field with 8 laps to go. Seb Herbert nursed his damage that he suffered very early on in the race. It's coming through following that, step back into a top 10 finish is going to be great comfort for the Simracersworld esports team driver. But look at Robbie Lundgren under a lot of pressure now. Kim Verheyet trying to get through, can't do it. Into these final few moments, 3 cars all tussling for 6th place. There's a twitch there from Robbie. But through the S's gives him a bit of respite, doesn't it? Going up the hill, trying to pick your moment to get on the throttle flat out up to the chicane. And I think he's got that judged very nicely, keeping ahead of Kim. With himself, he's able to stay ahead of Seb. With this 3-way fight, he's going to go right down to the wire right at the end of this race. Well, the tyre life has started to go away. The lap time's dropping all 3 of these drivers into the mid-15s range. Mid-1, mid-15s being set. Could mean the drivers will try and be a bit creative in how they get through in these final stages.
Absolutely. Oh, look at Musselwhite, who's really trying to get in there. I think he ends up paying a bit of a price there. Thinking a bit hot. Having to take avoiding action. That cost him a bit of time. He was very close to Paul Gosling that time around. Gonna have to work to claw back the gap. Still less than a second. Look at Behade here. Very close as well. As we enter the S's yet again. Doesn't quite seem to be able to close in on Robbie Lundgren, who continually gets good runs down through the SS series. Seems to quite... Oh, there's a bit of a twitch for Robbie here at the exit of the final S. Mind you, these cars are carrying considerable speed at that point on the track, so having a bit of a slidey moment right there is certainly one that'll put the heart all the way out the throat and make it gallop a bit there, probably. But Kim Behade in the 86, still looking for a 6th place. Seb Herbert is wanting to get past on both of these, obviously. And, sure. Or I'm afraid we've had a problem here for Stuart Musselwhite, who's gone and spun on the exit of turn 1 and touched the soft barrier in the inside. The damage isn't bad.
We saw that in warm-up. He did it in warm-up. We thought he'd got through the entire race without making a similar mistake, but no, right at the end, Hasse.
And look at this, here comes Kim Behade on the, by the way, on the inside of Robbie Lundgren into turn 1. Oh, as they touch and bang doors. In the most literal sense of the word, I think Herbert is not going to be able to shoot up the inside as well. Nope, as they're still running. It's now Behate up into 6th place ahead of Robbie Lundgren and then Seb Herbera. Paul Gosling, I think, can breathe a sigh of relief there. He's no longer got Stuart Musselwhite on his tail. And by the way, we mentioned the fact that Adam Wright was up on the pace of Matty Sufi. On that last lap, though, it seems to have leveled off. It's about 1.5 seconds now. So Adam Wright might have worked his tires a bit too hard. Maybe a bit too early there. And yet again, Sufi with the measured approach. He doesn't get stressed like that, Edward. It's quite impressive, actually. Usually at this point of a race, if you can see a driver 2 seconds back, he's closing in, gonna feel the need to just, you know, push the accelerator that little bit harder, turn in a little bit harder, a little bit faster as well. Just try and squeeze out a little bit more. I don't think Sufi's really doing that. I think he knows exactly where the limits of the cars and the tires is, and just what kind of a pace he can run consistently. He's doing that, and he's doing that to great effect at the moment. See what kind of a lap time they round with this time around. 4 laps to go on this race. So just about 5 minutes of action left until we see the checkered flag here at the Glen. And I think for once, I'd say a little bit of a bigger field would have been very, very nice here tonight. Just to have given us that little bit more action. But the action we've seen here tonight has been great indeed. Different from what we usually see on the overalls, but unpredictable and certainly also full of good racing.
So different from what we're used to seeing here in this NASCAR series. Tell you what though, he'll be happy for more of these races. Austin Greatorex with 4 laps to go in the lead of the race. 13 seconds the advantage now to Matthew Sufi. He's lost a little bit. Like you said, the gap got up to was great. 15 seconds at one stage, but I think it's been more about just him backing off, managing the race, managing the tyres, still pumping out very good laps is Austin. So don't expect him to suffer too much. He's not going to get caught before the end of the race. Now we've got 3 laps on the board. Matthew Sufi, 2nd place, with Adam Wright closing in behind on a late charge to try and take P2.
Yeah, indeed. Adam Wright with a 13.9 on the last lap. Again, 0.4 of a second quicker than Matty Sufi. So I might have called that a little bit too early. Adam Wright certainly could still do this, though 3 laps is not a long time here at the short layout of the Glen indeed. So just what that's going to mean, we're going to see indeed. Kim Behate has a comfortable cushion there on Robbie Lundgren now, as he's been able to take advantage of his pace advantage. Lundgren and then Seb Herbera, who I think is going to be just a tad too far back to be able to give it the descent there. Oh, look at this Sufi with Adam Wright absolutely on his tail. And we might see fireworks for podium positions here on the final laps of the race, which is something that, my God, this NASCAR series has been so great at producing the last lap drama. The sprints to the line, the, those white, you know, the white flag laps where they're basically bumper to bumper, nose to tail. Those fights that take every last inch out of my voice in the end, and the stuff that my neighbors dislike. When I get a little too excited about the racing, which tend to happen when it's good, and it's good right now here for Adam Wright. Certainly putting on some pressure here, and I don't necessarily think Matty Sufi was expecting this one, but it's important points for Sufi. He'll do everything he can to hang on to 2nd place. 2 laps to go now. Greatorex is coming towards the line as he's going to see the white flag. And I think there's a very good reason that Austin Greatorex has been taking it relatively easy here towards the end of the race, because he knows there will have been no real reason for him to push. Reasons to push are plenty for these two, however. Adam Wright looking for the corner exit more than anything else to get the run here on Matty Sufi down towards turn 1. Not this time around. It's the final lap. This was maybe the best chance to overtake. So we'll see here. Sufi, can he get the run into the S's? He don't get it into the chicane. It's going to be very difficult, I think, for him to set it up. So we'll be mindful of what happens here. As, oh my word, Rømer's gone past on Robbie Lundgren, and I'm afraid Lundgren's locked it up there on the inside, gone way wide. Oh, that's late in the race as well. And look at this.
Huge drama, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely so. Sufi, Adam Wright through the long right-hander. Oh, what a big slide for Adam Wright. And that's just as I think he had a super run. He wanted it that little bit too much. And that might have taken it. Austin Greaterix, however, is going to cross the checkered flag and take the win at the Glen after a brilliant performance indeed. And I think it's going to be Sufi here. They're going to be crashing at the line. Almost. Maddie Sufi gets second place ahead of Adam Wright after a tough race. Hendrik de Grave from Tielt in Flanders is gonna come home for fourth. Gotta wonder what it could have been for both de Grave and Tim Perry had it not been for their incident. There it is, de Grave passing the line. Let's see here if we can get some donuts out of Austin Greaterix. Right yet, it seems.
I'm not seeing any donuts from Austin. It's just business as usual for him. Doesn't need to celebrate. He's
look at this though. That's Herbert.
This is a battle, between Seb Herbert, Kimber Hayt. Herbert, after getting past on Robbie, fancied a move on Seb Herbert, or Kimber Hayt rather, but just wasn't able to work. But still, great stuff from Seb. Going back from that damage as well. Michael Tyler, a driver we saw have an off early on in the race, still made up 4 places by the end of it. So great stuff from the E-Team Brit driver. Get some good points for his name as well. Augustin Greaterix comes up to the line out. Do we finally get to see some donuts here, Hasse? Here we go.
So our race winner for the first ever visit at Watkins Glen here from the SRW TV Next Gen NASCAR Cup Series. And the win goes to Austin Greaterix after a great race, indeed a great drive. Herbert almost got it on Kim Bate there late in the race. That was great to see as well. But, oh my word. What a race indeed. I think we are all ready indeed for the first of the interviewees, Edward, and I'll have let you have the pleasure of bringing in Maddie Sufi for a bit of an interview.
Yes, so into the comms box comes, hopefully, Matthew Sufi. Here we go, Matthew. That was a cracking race from you, able to take second place at the end of it. Was that what you were expecting, or is this a bit of a welcome surprise?
Well, hi guys. Well, yeah, after looking at the practice and qualifying paces, where I was like top 3, top 4, maybe top 5, I knew it was going to be pretty close between the top 5 or so. So it would come down to not make any mistakes. And I mean, yeah, on the road pace, Austin was way too quick. I made a mistake in my second quali lap. I could have improved there, and that's got me stuck in P5, I think, for the start. When at the start of the first few laps, I lost a bit of time with Adam and Tim, I think. So, but yeah, I mean, Austin was way too fast. And obviously for the championship, I was trying to stay as close as Hendrik as possible, and either just a few spots behind him, or try to overtake him. And then obviously at some point he made a mistake, or he got together with Tim. I don't know exactly what happened. And yeah, so that gave me P2. So in the end, I'm pretty pleased with the outcome. I'm extending the lead in the championship, and that's what it was about for me today.
Yeah, doing a very good job. A champion's drive to bag some very good points for yourself, making up 3 places on a road course where Well, no driver had ever been before in a road course on the SimRacersworld NASCAR Cup Series. How was your first outing? Was it one that you were quite pleased with, I'm guessing?
Yeah, it was. Well, actually, it's the first official one. We had a test race here last season, which was a non-championship event with a previous gen cup car, which I won back then. So I was pretty pleased back then with the outcome. Obviously, it was a different car, so I kind of knew a little bit what to expect, and I put in some practice also with this car, and yeah, I mean, like I said, it was even more than Bristol. It's just focusing and not trying to make any mistakes because it's so slippery out there. If you just on the throttle too early, you spin the right the rear tires, and you, especially in the S's, I mean, it's like driving on ice. So you got to be on your toes. Also in the brakings, you have to nail those braking points exactly where you need to have them, and it's pretty. On one lap, it's already tiring, let alone for 70 laps. It's really something. So I'm pretty pleased. I made it to a good finish there.
Yeah, good finish, absolutely. And well, after such a great performance, we have a bit of tradition, don't we, at SimRacersworld TV? The shout-outs. Who do you want to thank for this brilliant performance here tonight?
Yeah, well, obviously you guys again for the broadcast and all the other competitors here. I think the driving was really clean. Also with the back markers, they didn't get in the way of anybody, I think, and they led us through. And so I want to thank everybody for the clean racing tonight. We have a little bit of a break, I think, now in the schedule, 1 week or 2 weeks break actually. So that's a welcoming thing, and let's now start focusing on the second part of the season.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see plenty more action with you up to the front trying to hold on to your championship lead. Thank you very much, Matthew.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
So, Hasse, that was second place finisher, but we can't leave tonight without having a word with our first place finisher, can we, Hasse? So, I will bring in Austin Greatorex so you can have a quick chat with him.
My pleasure indeed, Austin. Welcome to the comms booth for a bit of a chat here. Brilliant drive on your part to take a dominant win. It seems only your teammate John Barnes was really able to match you pace-wise. Once he went off, it was a clean run to the finish. What was your experience of driving the next-gen car here at the first road course outing of the series?
Hi there, guys. If you want my honest opinion, I hated every minute of driving the next-gen car at a road course. I don't mind any of the other oval cars, but that thing needs tuning and a different setup. It is horrible to drive.
Well, we do appreciate an honest opinion, and it's nice to hear someone just say it like it is in these times of sportsmen that are media trained and people that are taught to say the right thing. It's nice to hear. But looking at how the race went, it seems a lot of the competitors might have been feeling the same way about the car, but you were just able to handle it that little bit better.
Yeah, I'd say they are. As you mentioned in the opening statement, my teammate John was about the same pace as me. But I think I had a little bit better over the long run, so I was happy to sit behind him to save a bit of fuel. Then once he made the mistake, it was just keeping it clean for the rest of the race, just trying to minimise my own mistakes.
And for yourself, who hasn't been the luckiest soul so far this season, it must have been nice also to come through and take a win. Not only just a win, but a win in that style.
Oh, definitely. And because it's been I think this is the 6th race we've completed now. I've had 2 firsts, a second, and the other 3 I've been wiped out of them. So actually have 3 good results and 3 bad results. This has kind of evened it out just before the break.
Indeed. And you also seem to have the strategy on point, pitting once at the midway point. We were guessing that some drivers might be opting for a 2-stop for the fresher tires, but was it because there simply wasn't enough time to make up the time lost on a pit stop, in terms of the tires would be kind of settling on that level where they at least seem to settle in the lap times around the 1:14s?
I would say so, yes. It was close, and I'm not going to lie, I pitted, I think, 2 laps earlier, or at least a lap earlier than most of the people. and that put me short on fuel because it was such a tight tank. So for the last 15-20 laps, I was just trying to save a bit more towards the end just so I could do a victory burnout. But yeah, the times weren't in it massively. You'd have needed a good 2-3 seconds a lap to catch back up the difference, and it just wasn't there this evening.
Well, indeed. Austin, congratulations on a dominant performance. Great race win here at the Glen. And before we let you go and celebrate in style, of course, you've already done so with the donuts. That was great to see. Is there anyone you'd like to shout out or to give a thanks to while we're on there?
Yeah, firstly, you guys, as always, for doing the broadcast. Everyone at Simracersworld for putting on the league. My teammates at Quantum and all our sponsors. And Cobra Seats, who are my personal sponsor.
Indeed, short, sharp, and to the point. Austin Greaterix, our race winner for tonight. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us here post-race, and we'll hope to have a chat with you again somewhere soon.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a good evening.
So that was our race winner indeed, and well-deserved, it has to be said. It's bringing us towards the concluding stages of this broadcast. We do still have the final results to bring up on screen. I'll do so now, just so you can get it confirmed that it was indeed Austin Greaterix taking the win ahead of Maddie Sufi, Adam Wright, Hendrik Rekrave, and Tim Perry rounding off the top 5. Then Kippy Haidt, Seb Herber, Michael Tyler, Robbie Lundgren, and Paul Gosling making it into the top 10. Then Stuart Musselwhite, John Tosting, Rem van Uyften, Damien van Iverschiel, John Barnes, and Max Spooner rounding off the field for today. Edward, before we say goodbye, say thanks for tonight. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, and it's been great to be back commentating on NASCARs again in the Simracersworld. I've definitely missed it, and they haven't disappointed. All the times I've watched the broadcast, they're entertaining, and the road courses are just as fun as well. So, Hasse, I'll let you close out the broadcast. Thank you, everyone, as well, in the comments. We've seen loads of people chatting all race long. Plenty of stuff to chat about, of course. If you have enjoyed, make sure to do a like, subscribe, all that lovely good stuff. You know the drill by now, and all that's left is the final words from Hasse.
Well, indeed, we'll be back on Thursday for another round of F3 action with myself and Chas Draker. Do look forward to that. And of course, we've got the Porsche Club upgrade Britain with the 911 Cup Series that'll be starting again on Wednesday. That'll be with Chas Draker and Peter Mackay. A brilliant comms lineup to a brilliant series indeed as well. I hope you've enjoyed the show here tonight on SRW TV. If you did, you'd make sure to check back in for more great racing here on the channel in the future. And until next time, I've been Hasse Rømer, joined by Edward May. It's been a pleasure having you all along for the broadcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take care, have fun, and bye-bye.